Rob Lincourt, a scientist at Dell, to show how we can use some of the existing DNS methodologies to bootstrap the NANDA index. So Rob, take it away.
Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for having me today as well. So I just want to kind of quickly some thoughts we've been having. We run these by Ramesh and team. Give me a second here. And one of the goals that we've been trying to do, especially with this registry concept, was understand what we can already use that's already available out on the internet today. And one of the things that we really like about the way DNS is set up, especially from an enterprise point of view, is we have that flexibility where our intranet can seamlessly move to the internet, right? But we can control kind of what happens in the intranet and when you move and for what services you can move. So that's kind of what this is today. So one thing that we noticed was, kind of when microservices and things like that started coming up, DNS added this concept, and it always had it there, but there was never really a good use for it. Was this SRV record or a service record? And what that does is it really allows you to expose out your domain, which you already have, and there's easy ways to already sign up for them. I think Ramesh used the example of GoDaddy, right? And now what you can do is we can create these different exchange. We have here, kind of down right around here, we had this AX1, which is an agent exchange, right? We have email exchange, we have all other types of exchanges. So could we simply just create the agent name by linking to one of the domains that we already have, allowing us to use the DNS servers that are already available and already out there to have these new records and be able to query these records. And so what you could do is, if you know the agent that you're looking for, you can simply go to those registries, and you already do this today, and by default, it would just happen and follow your own search paths that you have defined to kind of get that agent card, right? To get that fact card back about the agent. And then from there, you can then start interacting with whatever agent you choose. We just believe that this would be a little bit easier to bootstrap everyone instead of creating net new from the start. We understand that things might have to move in the future, but that's okay. That can happen, and everyone's okay with that. So this kind of concept is, really about identifying an agent and naming an agent with a specific domain. And this is kind of what we already do today. We feel that some of the things that this will help is if you know the agent and you don't need to search for it, this will give you direct discoverability and communication with that agent. And what it'll do is it should simplify starting in bootstrapping a lot of the agents that we're looking at building and publicizing today without creating a whole new ecosystem. We can allow the ecosystem to emerge over it. Similar to some of the comments earlier, this will allow for other companies to be able to crawl these DNS servers and host DNS registries, to basically give you other ways of finding out what these agents are capable of by crawling and scraping the agent cards or the agent facts, that you can now kind of create your own search index or an agent to find other agents, right? You can start to build out companies around that and find ways to build that ecosystem if you choose to. If not, you still have that core layer to interact with. We've talked about some different use cases. This is by far one of my favorite use cases. I don't know how many of you try to organize a family dinner, but in my household, we struggle with this. In my case, I have two daughters, my wife, so again, I can ask my agent to interact with theirs to figure out when we can all get together for dinner, a location of where that dinner should be, right? And kind of allow it to reach out and understand, and our agents know our personal preferences, so it's personalized to us to figure out how we can all figure out where to eat, and have an enjoyable evening, right? So what we could do is my agent will look up, my family agents, my family set of agents for my wife, my son, and or my daughters at the different domains that they're currently at right now. Each of the agents could provide a series of times for us to get together. Based on that, my agent will go out and then find suitable restaurants, contact the restaurants, see if those time slots are available. If for ones that are available, great. For ones that are not, they just drop them off the list, right? And really, it just kind of simplifies what normally would be 30 texts on a text chain going back and forth with them, emails or phone calls or FaceTimes, things like that. The whole point of this type of environment, though, is really to get an understanding of multiple DNS servers, some private, some public, that can interoperate and allow that movement to go from our private network to the internet. And this will allow us to control and have controls over which agents are exposed out to the internet and what agents are not. So we can have the ability to funnel requests to certain areas, as an enterprise ourselves, and allow our customers to, us to help our customers do that as well. And so, we kind of feel that this is a little bit of a twist on what was happening today. With the NANDA registry, it kind of adds a nice little layer right below it to kind of bootstrap everything. And one thing that we're trying to do, with Ramesh and team, is we're trying to get this up and running as a demo for, I believe it would be July 15th. So hopefully on the 15th, you'll be hearing back from us, and we'll kind of, be able to show you how this worked together. And if these records actually the SRV records were actually able to be used for this type of searching. So again, I just wanted to introduce the concept here today to see, get some feedback. We're going to be building this internally to see, and again, we'll be happy to demo what we have working on the 15th. So
Yeah, that's
Ramesh, I'll turn
amazing.
it back to you.
Yeah, Rob, that's amazing. It's so fantastic to see Dell's scientists and engineers from Dell hacking away at this and thinking through various use cases and so on. I guess the natural question here would be, is there a cold start problem here, which is the UMass and PMC and so on. I know
Mhm.
this is a mock-up,
Yeah.
but do we have, I guess the question is, should this be something that the agents own, your wife's agent and your son's agents own them? Or is this something that UMass, where I believe your son studies,
Ah,
is hosting it? Is this more of an email model where,
so
although I might be a
yeah.
student at UMass, I own the email and UMass doesn't own it?
Well, and so those are some of the topics we're debating internally now, because the big question is really, if we have an agent, and if I have a personal agent and I choose to leave Dell, does Dell get to keep my agent and all the knowledge that it created? Do I get to take it with me? Is there a sanitization process that has to happen? Do I have a work agent and a personal agent now? And how are those things interact? So we don't really know how it's going to play out, but that's what we're trying to figure out right now, is understand some of these concepts, because our privacy team is all over us about this. Our legal team is all over us about this, right? With all the different regulations. We're just about in every country in the world, or pretty close to it. So, we have all these different regulations that we have to deal with. I don't have a good answer for you right now.
Yeah.
And I would argue that no, they shouldn't own it. It's the name on the front of the hashtag. We threw in the hashtag to kind of show how it is a little bit different than an email, but it's kind of combining the email with the DNS together, right? Because it's easy to add these records, right? We already know how to do it, right? We know, there's automation to do all these things. So how can we start to mix those two kind of traditional technologies?
Yeah, I think that's the struggle, right? Like,
It is.
should agents be treated like an email address? Should
Mhm.
they be treated like a website, or should they be treated more like your driver's license, where I have complete control over it? I think this is going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting because I think you could argue for all three of those and have a strong argument, right?
Right.
And I
Fantastic.
would even throw in a fourth. There's probably something new that we don't even know about.
Yeah. Steve has an important question. Steve Witka, who should not own it? We're debating on who should own it, but who should not own it?
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. I would hope governments, maybe a cent, you know, maybe like, Gmail, right? Gmail is probably one of the biggest gifts we give to Google. And yet we all have Gmail accounts, right? If not multiple. Um, because we're giving away that data for free for a service, but they're turning around and making a ton of profit on it. So, how is that fair? And if there was a price for Gmail and giving access to your data, how much are you willing to pay for that? Or how much are you willing to give access to Google for it to be free? Right. So all sorts of different models. We've had some great conversations in the past with Tim's yeah, I can't think of his name right now. The father of the internet.
Tim Berners-Lee.
Tim's Berners-Lee, right? We've had great conversations with him in the past about this. We've had some of the other conversations with, the mother of the internet, and a lot of these people are at MIT that we have access to, right? People who created these initial routing algorithms and things like that. So we've had great conversations. I don't have a good answer, but I really do, and I truly believe that you should own your data. The problem is how do you find your data? You don't even know it exists.
Yeah.
How can I train my agent on my data when I don't know how to get it out of Google or get it out of Microsoft or get it out of Dell? And what can I get out of them?
So this is why we have, the Project Nanda and the working groups.
Yep.
So Rob, you'll be showing this live, and
Yes.
Victor Fong from your team
Yep.
on July 15th, live here at MIT in person. It's not
Yes.
an online session, unfortunately. So we want all of you to sign up and buy your tickets now to be here in Boston. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.